the Mets' season of illogical success finally comes to an end. The silence in Queens was tomb-like. All night long, Citi Field had been caught between delirium and high anxiety. By the ninth and final inning, 44,747 fans had bounced and screamed and pleaded, and were now urging Jeurys Familia, their exuberant giant of a Mets closer, to extend their season another few days. Familia reared and tossed, and co-nerd Gillespie, a backup San Francisco Giants third baseman, cocked his bat and had hit a sinker that didn't sink. "Right now, I have no idea where it was," he said of the Familia pitch. "I just know it was up enough to swing at." Gillespie hit that mystery ball on an arc over the right field fence, the 3-run shot that broke the 0-0 tie. With their cool-eyed ace, Madison Bumgarner, on the mound, the Giants had 2 more runs than were necessary to win this thing. As the air drained from the stadium and season, it was hard to feel the honey. "Where's the Zap Max?" despair that is the usual inheritance of a Mets fan. For this season was an odd pot of gold. In spring training in March, the Mets had 5 golden-armed young pitchers whose fastballs edged into the mid to high 90s. By season's end, only one of those pitchers was ambulatory. Their third baseman and captain, David Wright, spent months in Denali-like rehab in California. Their first baseman, Lucas Duda, mended a broken back, and then, ominously, fell too sore to make the postseason roster. Their punitive starting left fielder spent half the season in a Las Vegas auto shop of the minor leagues, getting his swing and psyche overhauled. Surgery, weird injuries, witches' hexes. The Mets season was near laughable in the extravagance of its bad luck. "I looked out on the field and saw one guy who was in the opening day lineup," manager Terry Collins recalled of several mid-season days. "It's truly been amazing." Collins spoke hours before the Mets lost to the Giants, 3-0, Wednesday night in the National League wild card game. The glint in his eye called to mind a card shark who thought he had another bluff in him. Almost everyone shared his confidence. "Before the game, I stood with Yoenis, the authentic radio voice of the Mets, and watched the team take batting practice, cloaked in the long shadows of an autumnal afternoon. We discussed growing up in New York City and favorite diners and fine childhood days spent in the upper deck of Shea Stadium. We agreed the Mets might take this game. Yeah, we drank the Kool-Aid, so sue us. I figured the Mets' reverie would end at the next stop, against the Chicago Cubs in Wrigley Field. That loomed as a march into the valley of death. Bartolo Colon is a marvelous old Yoda, but his odd oxymoron, the off-speed fastball, seemed unlikely to fool the Cubs' lineup of savvy and savage young hitters. But the Mets never got that far. Instead, they reminded us Wednesday night of their gumption, and their deficits. For the first 3 innings, their hitters swung at anything, producing a succession of pop UPS, grounders and more pop UPS. I was tempted to write a quick memo. None of the religious holidays in October require that batters give up working longer counts against pitchers. It did not help that the Mets slugger, Yoenis Cespedes, a man capable of hoisting the team on his back 4 weeks at a time, had misplaced his swing recently. He spent the evening wandering lost in a wilderness of pop UPS and checked swing strikeouts. It was a symptom of that Mets malaise, and of this season's odd redemptions, that 2 rookies, T.J. Rivera and Type Kelly, ended up with 2 of the team's 4 hits against Bumgarner. Neither player had featured remotely in the Mets' plans in the spring. Noah Syndergaard, the 24-year-old golden-locked pitcher who goes by the nickname Thorpe, kept the Mets in the game. Save for the very occasional off-speed pitch, his fastballs and sinkers arrived in 98 to 100 miles per hour packages. Some Giants hitters waved feebly, others violently, and no one really touched him. Syndergaard recorded 10 strikeouts through 7 innings and gave up 2 hits. His season had been a rousing success, with 14 wins and 218 strikeouts in 183 innings. This playoff game was his coming-of-age punctuation. "He's grown so much, even though he's still very, very young," Collins said of his young ace. Unfortunately for the Mets, the other team had Bumgarner. He keeps his black cap pulled down tight over his head, with those cool, coal burner eyes peering out of the shadows. He has a rocking chair motion, bringing his left arm out from behind his body in a slingshot. He has a sure fastball, and his cutter rolls across the batting zone like a wayward marble. Now 27, he has lived wedged between very good and excellent since the age of 21. In the postseason, this North Carolinian from somewhere east of Gretna Falls edges into brilliance. On Wednesday, he needed just 14 pitches to get through the first 2 innings and he pitched a complete game shutout. Sign up for the sports newsletter. Get the big sports news, highlights and analysis from Times journalists, with distinctive